T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to the Trap Talk Reptile Podcast, the premiere of episode 368, the legacy of Bob Clark Reptiles. What is good? I'm your boy, MJ. If this is your first time tapping into your boy, MJ, a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you're on top of every single piece of content I drop here on this channel. Thank you for all the love and support. If you listen to me on the major audio platforms such as Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. I just want to say thank you for all the love and support. No matter where you listen to this podcast, I just want to say thank you. Shout out to all my Patreon members. If you're looking for exclusive content, if you like to get more behind the scenes, unreleased, uncut, edited versions of these podcasts, then don't look any further than going down to the very first link in the description below. Click on it and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Patreon family, you will get a link to the Discord, which will tap you in with over 170 trappers, some diehard animal keepers / lovers, all about the well-being by the reptiles. And we're all growing by the day, man. So I gotta say thank you so much to all my Patreon members. You guys are my heart. And seriously, come join the fun. I will say, guys, don't forget to support US ARC. It's very important that we are all on top of supporting US ARC. Make sure we follow them on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you're on top of all current events, or just simply go to their website, usarc.org. Become a member if you're not a member yet. Join the fight with us, because at the end of the day, US ARC is here to help us keep our animal rights. Nobody is ever coming between me and my reptiles. And I hope you have that type of energy as well. So go support US ARC. You're looking at a US ARC Gold member. This podcast has a Gold membership because that's the type of energy I want to have for this podcast. Coolest reptile podcast in the world. 3 years running, mind you. But yes, please support US ARC. I will say that tonight's episode is brought to you by Ship Your Reptiles, the #1 reptile shipping company, the #1 reptile shipping company in the game. Thank you so much, Chad Brown. Thank you, Susie. If you want to know how to ship your reptiles, you're looking at it. Go to shipyourreptiles.com. Ship with the best, the OG since 2009. And also, make sure you take $15 off your next shipment with Ship Your Reptiles on me. Use promo code TRAPTALK, and you save yourself a little bit of coin there. I will say also that tonight's episode is brought to you by my good buddy, Gary Shavino, GS Reptiles, #1 YouTuber in the reptile game, in my opinion. I just love his content. I'm a huge Gary Shavino fan. Makes me laugh, but also teaches me a lot about snakes I'm obsessed with. So if you want to learn, if you want to expand your knowledge on rare species of snakes that are kept in this hobby, you need to head over to GS Reptiles on YouTube, subscribe to this man's content, follow him on Instagram, let him know that MJ from the Trap sent you. And yes, thank you so much, Gary Shavino, for your support and you being such a good friend to me. And yeah, Gary Shavino is awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, go give me a follow on Instagram, TrapTalkGod619. Heck, I actually made it easy for all you guys out there. If you want to do me a favor, scan that QR code right there. Scan that QR code. It will actually tap you in with all my social media platforms, okay? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, okay? You can actually subscribe to my other YouTube channel, The Trap Vlogs, which I'm going to be pumping out here again really, really shortly. Promise. But then also the link to the Patreon page. All my links, everything you need to do to see what I got going on is right there on that QR code. So make sure you hit that QR code. Come follow me. Thank you for all the love and support again. And guys, I hope you're ready for tonight's episode premiere. This is obviously pre-recorded just due to scheduling and whatnot, but I'm so happy to present this episode to you guys. It means a lot to me. I've been wanting Bob Clark on the episode. I've been wanting Bob Clark on this podcast for over 2 years now. Just kind of getting to know him a little bit through Brian Barczyk and many other people who've been in the industry for a long time. It's just been something I've been trying to do for a while. And also with current events and whatnot and things happening, it's just perfect timing. So hope you guys are ready for this treat. I hope you guys are ready for this legendary podcast I did with Bob Clark. do me a favor right now before we get into things. Hit that like button. Get the likes up right now. And just be ready for an awesome episode, okay? Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. But it's go time. Episode 368, the premiere of Bob Clark Reptiles. Let's go. Chee.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
Coolest reptile podcast in the world, episode 368. Bob Clark. Bob Clark, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is an exciting moment. Appreciate you you being with us here tonight. How's everything going with you, Bob?
Good, it's a good season. Everything's going great, thanks. Hatching, about 3/4 of the hatching is done. Articulated pythons, which is what I've got the most. I'm working with the most right now.
Okay.
And so I've got a little bit left to go as far as sales. You know, sales generally peak in this. Well, they peak when I've got a lot of animals to sell. So
Reticulated pythons is the bread and butter for you. That's your foundation, you would say.
I like them the most. So
Right. Okay.
they're most important.
But correct me if I'm wrong. It all started with Burmese's. Is that right?
It did, yes. Well, my life changed in 1986 when the first albino Burmese pythons hatched. That everything changed for me. You know, there was a realization that I can breed these things, I can sell them, I can make some money, and eventually that was, you know, to become my full-time business. And since 1988, I've been full-time snake man. So the albino Burmese python was imported by Tom Crutchfield.
Got it.
And I made an arrangement with Tom to borrow that animal for a season. I bred it. I got a group of hets to raise. I split those hets with Tom. Everything else is on the backs of that group of hets. So I didn't look at, maybe nobody looked at breeding reptiles for the pet trade. Sure, there were turtle farms, you know,
Right.
For red-eared sliders. But as far as snakes, I don't think anybody was really doing it then. So the colubrid guys just getting started in that time. But boy, things have changed so much since then.
How old were you back when you were doing this collaboration with Tom?
That was, let's see, doing math on the spot here.
Sorry.
Because I was 31 in 86.
30s, so early 30s. Okay.
Yeah.
And where were you at in your life in you know, 30, 31 years old with the animals? Like, did you have a huge collection? Were you just growing?
Had some Burmese pythons that I was breeding. And I will tell you, to breed Burmese pythons 40 years ago, it was a little noteworthy. You know, I thought, hey, I breed pythons. Yes, I breed Burmese pythons. And I bred them for the first time in 74.
Wow.
So almost 50 years ago.
What did your folks think of that? And like your peers people around you?
We had the no snake rule at my parents' house. So
Wow.
when I moved out of the house and went to school, I started keeping some snakes. I started breeding some snakes, and then then 10 years later or so, I got a hold of that first albino Burmese, and that really did change the course of my life.
Yeah, I don't have to tell you this, but you obviously know the industry has been growing quite a bit the last few years. and it's all young generation. It's a lot of youth, you know, and I happen to talk. I happen to talk to a lot of young kids who still live at home, and they want so much, but they're limited because they live at home. And I'm like, hey man, just be happy you have a roof over your head, and that times will change right when you get out of, you know, have a goal to leave your house. And once you do your own thing and you're that adult, ain't nobody gonna tell you what you can do at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened to me.
First clutch of berms in the 74, you said 1974. Was it a business already at that point?
I realized in the early 70s that it is possible that you can make these things at home. And I thought, well, I'm going to do that. I met a guy in Minneapolis that had bred some Burmese pythons. And so I was in high school. I drove up there and from Kansas City, where I'm from. And I thought, I want to do this too. So I soaked up everything I could learn. And then I wonder what year that was. But anyway, the next year or two, I was able to breed my own. So
even back then, you had someone kind of mentoring you. Like there was somebody out there kind of laying down the how to do, which is very rare to come across. I would feel like in a time like that, you know, back then with reptiles, very, very uncommon, you would say. Yeah,
this guy his name was Terry Odegaard, and he had a pet shop called the Pet Dragon in Minnesota. I remember when I was there.
Yeah,
this was in the early 70s. I can't remember what year, but when I was there, I saw the first albino corn snake, and I thought, that is spectacular. They were not in the trade at that point, but I thought, I can't even believe this wonderful thing.
And at what point did things pick up as a business for you, Bob? What year was this?
In '83, I saw that first albino Burmese python in the National Geographic magazine. A few months after that, I saw it on Tom Crutchfield's list. I couldn't get that thing out of my head all day, all night. I couldn't sleep. I'm telling you. To have that thing, what a dream that would have been. Finally, I did make that deal with Tom.
And I'm curious, man, Tom Crutchfield, another huge pillar in the industry, and why we're here today. How did you even link up with somebody like Tom Crutchfield?
In the early 70s, I had a giant Burmese python.
Okay.
Big, you know, we always said it was 300 pounds, but it was well over 200.
Wow.
I mean, I've got a picture of that somewhere. And it was really a big girl. And I went to school, and I owned it with a friend of mine. We ended up selling it to Tom Crutchfield, and that's when I first met Tom. And then, of course, Tom was one of the few people that was putting out a regular stock list in those days.
Right.
And so you get this thing in the mail. And it was always a bright color, orange or something. And I can still remember how exciting it was to open the mailbox and find that in there. Otherwise, you had no idea what was going on, who had what for sale, what was available, how much it cost. We didn't know any of this stuff until we got Tom's price list.
Right.
Very exciting.
Like relied on the mail back in the day, you know, like that's how they got pictures of stuff and all sorts of things. Like it was, you know, we have it so easy now with the internet, huh, Bob?
Yeah, it changed everything.
Talk about what projects really took off for you.
Albino is what made everything else possible because, like I say, people weren't thinking in those days that I will get a snake, I'll breed it, I'll make some money.
Right.
I want one of these. I like one of those. That's a pretty color. I like this species or whatever. But nobody was really breeding it, and there wasn't really that thought that I can do this. I can sell the babies and get some more snakes. That wasn't really people weren't really thinking that way. But you know, people that early on bought those first albinos. Mark Bell came and bought quite a few. Brian Barczyk bought some.
Yeah.
And you know they did well with it. So.
Yeah. Shout out to Brian Barczyk. You know, I got to say, what really kind of put me on to wanting to find more things out about you, Bob, is hearing about stuff from Brian Barczyk. You know, Brian Barczyk's a huge fan of you. Obviously, I've seen him visit your place, I believe, once or twice. But I will tell you, he's only had nothing great things to say about your place. Pretty cool to have that connection with you two. Now, you know, I got to ask you, you met Brian at a really young age, where he was at a really young age, right?
He reminded me of that. He said he was 19.
So
I'm not sure how old I was. I don't remember.
How did it, like, how did you feel about selling snakes to people either so young or just people in general, like knowing that you are pretty much the first person to kind of pet these out, but like, you know, how did you feel putting these hands to other people who had no experience?
In those days, things were different.
Right. Free for all.
We had more personal responsibility. We thought, well, of course, why would you get a snake if you couldn't take care of it? Or why would you buy that if you don't know how? It was more assumed that you wouldn't put yourself in that position. If you wouldn't have it unless you knew what you were doing. Now, these days, I don't think people take personal responsibility the same way. And for me, it's I think I can sell you a snake. It'll be a good, solid snake. It'll do well for you. I got to say that's on you to take care of it. I can't be your mommy. You've got a responsibility here. When you buy it, you accept that responsibility.
I mean, that's the truth about anything. It's like, you know, when you buy a gun or anything, like it's just, you have a responsibility behind anything that could do harm. Right.
Sure.
But like, what were some of the standards for you back then? Like, what were some, like, if I were a customer back in the day, like, how are you telling people to keep them? Like, what was the way to what was working best for you?
One thing that I've always done is service after the sale. We've got a deal when you buy a snake. I'm here to help you. And I'm a good resource. Everything that can go wrong, I've seen it. So you got a problem, I probably know how to fix it. So I think that's something that then and now is important.
And, you know, I've talked to a lot of people, not even talked, but people who've commented on like, you know, I did that reaction video on you and Darian, and I couldn't believe how many people were in the comments saying that, you know, that they've been customers of you for years, you know what I mean? And they stand by how you've always treated them and whatnot. So it was enlightening to see that many people step forward for you.
Well, I've been at it a long time, maybe more than anybody. So that's still
that's a fact.
It's what I love. I mean, I work 12-hour days, 7 days a week. I can't wait to get out of bed, and I'm always a little bit difficult getting out the door. I love doing what I'm doing, and I'm so lucky that I've been able to find a way to make a living doing it. So
this whole industry came across my life when I was turning 32 years old, and my life completely changed. But man, I've never felt so young. Like, I feel so, like you said, like I wake up, I can't wait to get to my room. And maybe there's nothing going on, but who cares? I just want to be around my animals. I you know, after years of just kind of dialing things down and getting things how you want it, it can't be nothing but therapeutic. And I feel like it's the same for you, right?
It's got to be good for you. My friend Bill Brandt, gourmet rodent. Bill's in his I guess in his late 70s. Yeah. And he told me he'd moved to an assisted living center, and he was telling me, but I'm keeping some animals, and he said, and I can't wait to deal with them every day. And he says, I got a theory. He said, reptiles extend life. And I think
so too. I got to ask you, Bob, at what point did you start getting helpers or needing help?
In the late 80s, I think. Ooh, I did it all myself. Maybe 89, I moved out of the house. You know, I was in the garage.
Wow.
And so I moved out of the house, and by that time, I think things had expanded enough that I needed more space and more help. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but I feel like if you're really meant to be in this industry, things just happen to land in your lap. Like, I think, I don't know what it is, but I've had certain things just come my way, which I never expected. And it took me even further in this industry. And I'm so happy for it. I'm terrified to where I take it to the point where I need to hire somebody because how much I don't trust anyone but myself in this room. Wife knows how I am and she gets it. She can help me, but
I understand completely what you're saying, because I have to get away from the thought that if it's going to be done right, I have to do it. And I'm the only guy that can do things the right way. So limiting to you. Your day is only so long and you can only do so much stuff. It is important to be able to delegate some of that responsibility and some of that stuff to somebody else. And I think once you can, that's my dog snoring next to me. I'm sorry. So that's not any digestive noises from me. That's my dog.
I thought it was a lion. It sounded like a lion or something.
Yeah.
Just shout the crew real quick. I know Xavier. There's Xavier, right? That's one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who else do you have working for you?
We've got Griffin.
Griffin.
We've got Kaylin and Eric.
Nice. And they are like on a set schedule, or they come when they come. Like how do you schedule this crew of workers that you have?
Well, they all work every weekday. They're here early before 7, and they leave at 5.
7 to 5. Wow, it's a full 8-hour day.
Yeah.
And it's always 4 of them at the same time, or is it sometimes just 2 of them? Or
it's always 4. On the weekend. On the weekend, usually it's just me.
Okay. And one thing that amazes me, and like I said, Bob, I hope one day I get to visit your facility. But from what I can see at your facility, you have some like amazing neodesha cages, I believe. Is that what they're called?
They're old school for sure.
I don't know what it is about the angle, like the way they're slanted and that glass. I enjoy that. I think those cages look really neat. I feel like I could see everything in there.
Yeah, they do. That slant does allow them to catch the ambient light, so I don't have to light the cages. Of course, the floor space is more important than anything, because that's what the snakes are.
Right.
And so that slant is that's a good idea.
How did you even come across those cages? Did you know the person making them at the time?
A long time ago, back in the 60s, there was a company called Ranger that made fiberglass cages in that same shape. All 2 feet long, I think. All the same size. And they were blue, as I recall. And a friend of mine, he became a friend of mine in southeast Kansas, in Neodesha, Kansas, did a knockoff of those, and I got some. And at some point, we started thinking, well, these would be better if they were bigger. What if we had a 3-foot? What if we had a 4-foot? What if we had a 6-foot? And
there you go.
So he's my friend. Actually, I was dealing with my friend's dad in those days, and he said, "Well, I'm going to make a 6-foot one. But if you make a 6-foot one the same proportions as the 3-foot one, it's like chest high. So we don't need that. Anyway, we tweaked the dimensions a little bit, and those are the cages that I still use today."
Yeah, I want to share a picture real quick off your Facebook where you can kind of see one of the neodeshas in the background. But I'm mainly pulling up this picture because I want to talk about that snake that's in your hand. I know that's a real popular snake in your collection because it started a lot with the pieds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how old roughly was that snake when you got it, Bob?
It was a wild caught animal, and my impression was that it was old, that it had some scars. It had a proportionally big head, I thought. It gave the impression of an old animal.
How many clutches did he sire?
Boy, I don't know, but it's a lot.
A lot, huh? So you got the job done then, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I've seen what happens. They, after a while, they just they get a little lethargic, and they don't want to eat regularly, and they just kind of run out of gas eventually. So,
with that being said, Bob, how long should a retic male and female live for? If it's healthy, and what would you say in your experience?
I think they can easily live 20 years.
Right.
I think no problem at all for that. And
Right.
some of these wild animals that have come into captivity, they can live 20 years easily and regularly. And, we want to know what's normal and what can be expected. I've got to tell you, people haven't been keeping retics in any numbers for 20 years. So we really don't know. I see a lot of the new kids saying they should live 50 years, and maybe they do, but nobody can know that because we haven't even been keeping them that long.
Yeah, one thing that would piss me off, Bob, if I was someone like yourself or Brian or anyone who's been doing this, is like seeing these fuckers come along out of nowhere, and now they're just the know-it-alls. You know what I mean?
Don't know really what is possible for retic, to how long they can live. I don't know. I can just tell you what my experience is, and I think 20 years is I've seen them born and die in the same that 20-year span.
Right.
And I would say also, there are a few people that can say that. There are a few people that have the data that I have on how long a retic can live. Sometimes I'll post a picture of a big fat one, and people say, "Well, you're killing that snake. It's going to die. Life is going to be shortened. It's not healthy." And you know what? Nobody knows. I think if you take a real fat person, yeah, probably, and a real fat snake, yeah, that's also possible. But nobody knows. So you can't really speak with much authority on that. One thing I do know, if they're big and fat, they don't breed very well.
Right.
If you're in the business of breeding snakes, a snake that doesn't breed very well, it's not good for you.
Doesn't help your business.
You need a productive animal. So
another kind of myth buster out there is I feel like a lot of people like to claim they have 19, 20-foot snakes when really they don't, because I heard, from sources that's a rare snake to have, a snake that big.
That is a wall. It's hard to get past that. And
right.
Sometimes you can. It's difficult to get them very big, and you could probably take it out and I could show you some big snake. Can we walk out here with my phone and shoot them?
Sure, yeah. Be my guest if you want. Yeah, show us around if you like. Or if you want to show us that snake, let's do it. Yeah, let's look at some big snakes, Bob.
Okay.
All right, what a treat. And there should be back camera.
Back camera.
There you go. There it is. All right, Bob. I'm gonna give you the big screen, man. So do your thing. Show us some of these big snakes.
Let's see. How can I get back so I can see what you're seeing? Yeah, but I can't see you now.
Okay, but like we could see whatever's in front of your camera right now. So just look in front of you though, like just imagine
Okay, so I hope I'm showing this in a.
You are. We're seeing everything great. So
okay,
go ahead and show us around. Man, these snakes are beautiful. Okay.
Let's see. Okay, if we can find a big one for you. That's a pretty big one. This one is 21 feet.
That's 21 foot right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing.
I'm seeing the lighter one on the bottom, right? We're looking at the bottom.
A lot of the floor.
Yeah, it's on the floor. Yeah, we
Am I showing you too much concrete, or are you seeing the snake?
Go up just a little bit, just a tiny, right there. That's perfect, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, we see all snake. You're good.
Okay. Is there a big one in there?
Yeah. The biggest one.
Here, maybe we're doing some cleaning here. Xavier, he'll show us a big one here in a second.
All right, sounds good. Whoa, look at that thing, man. That thing is huge. Wow. Oh my gosh.
I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing, but
I am. I can see him, buddy. Oh, look at that. Wow.
That's a big one. This one weighs, what do we weigh this one?
260.
260.
260.
Yeah, that's a big one.
What's the genetics on that one?
That is a het orange ghost striped tiger.
And how old would you say she is, Bob?
8 years old.
Wow. That's impressive.
That one's heavier, but I think this one is longer.
And these you take out weekly, or how are these things like moving around? Like what do you do best by these?
Well, we don't bother them too much when they get their cages clean. They come out. Sometimes they come out. Sometimes we just do a half and half on them.
Right. Wow. Look at that.
Yeah, we let them out on the floor, and they get a little moving around.
How many years you been in that facility now, Bob?
I've been in this one for 12 years.
And was this bigger than the one before, or?
It's bigger, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we're working here today, but.
And the whole room is the ambient, or how do you run heat for all the snakes?
It gets heat from heat pads on the left side of each cage.
Okay.
The bottom.
And what do you like to run your hot spots at?
I keep them about 92.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Look at that. Whoa.
There's more.
All retics, or how many? Where all the?
They're retics and Burmese, mostly retics in here. But
now these are all mainlands, correct? You only have mainlands,
yeah.
Bob? Do you work with the dwarf or super dwarfs?
I work with little ones too.
Okay.
But
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can see why you have 4 people working every day.
Yeah,
It's nonstop.
Yeah.
Things look healthy though, man. I don't see any like, nastiness. This looks good for. I mean,
Well,
this.
it's clean. You can see that probably, huh?
No, you totally can, and this is not easy to have like this. To have this many snakes and have them still all like perfectly looking fine like this.
Yeah.
Definitely props to you, buddy. This is great. And props to your team as well. Now, wait, so these are all subadults, or what are these right here? These RHACS right here that you have in front of you.
Some are ball pythons. Some are babies.
Oh
Like,
wow! Even
some-
up all Python stuff.
Tell me
wow.
how. But I need to figure out how I can see what you're seeing, because I think
I can see the rack that there's a tub right there that's open to the left.
I can see that, but
I believe you. The only way to do that, Bob, is you'd have to flip the camera back around where it's going to show you. And then,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like here's some albino.
Whoa! Look at that.
These
Dude.
are Are you seeing that in the right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, those look great. Those look pretty. Those are awesome.
So these are all things that have just come out of the incubator.
Wait, those are albino Burmese pieds?
Yes.
Wow. Have
These
those been
are-
made yet?
Yeah. Here's some nice retics, some real black ones in there.
Wow, look at that, man.
These are all the things that are just out of the incubator.
What locality stuff are you working with? You still see
Here's some more. These are albino pieds and albino pieds.
Those look good. Those look better than ball python albino pieds.
I'm telling you, they just look great.
Yeah, they look flawless.
Yeah. There's some caramel Burmese, albino caramel Burmese. These things, somebody's going to say, hey, they need more space. Well, these are just the things that have come out of the incubator this week.
They're babies. Yeah, those are obviously need to go through their first shed. So
once they go into their shed, then they'll get, here's some more.
Dang.
These just haven't been put away yet, but once they have their first shed, you can see these are starting to shed.
Yeah, I can see they're going blue.
They'll get
Look at that one.
put away. But.
Wow, that is so pretty. Look at that. What's an albino Burmese pied going for, Bob?
$37.50.
Wow. Now, the Burmese pied in general, were you the first one to get your hands on that in the United States, or where did that come from?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
And how long ago was that, Bob?
2019, I think.
2019.
Yeah. Let's get this switched. I'm going to go back to my chair.
I hope you guys are enjoying this. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, select all. You'll be a part of every single piece of content dropped here on the Trap Talk Reptile podcast. Thank you so much. Bob's coming right back. Don't worry. This is a great episode. I love it. Support US Arc too. While we're waiting, US Arc, they are here to help us. We need them more than they need us. Fight for your rights. US Arc. Gold member right here. Trap Talk. Gold member. Gold member. Hope everyone's having a beautiful day out there. There it is.
I can see it just fine. Before I could only see me.
Yeah, thank you so much for showing us around. That was awesome. That was an awesome treat, Bob. One thing I want to talk about real quick is any specific locality stuff that you work with in the reticulated python game, like something that doesn't really have much morphs worked into it yet. Do you have any of that going on?
Well, the only morph in the dwarf stuff is anery, which by itself is not really very exciting. I have animals that, as far as we know, are Calotoa.
Calotoa. Okay. Have you heard lately about what's going on with Calotoa being mislabeled and it's not really Calotoa or anything like that?
What do they say it is?
This guy Gavin, who's a part of the Retic Nation or something like that.
I know it.
Yeah, he said something about. Let me pull it up that way you can kind of see it. Things were like there was a vote. Somebody took a vote.
I think to know the exact locality where these things originated, you've got to have the information. You've got to have the right information from the guy that caught it,
right?
Who has probably caught animals in several places,
right?
And then he's taken them to an exporter.
Right.
And he's had to relay that information to him, and the exporter has to relay it to whoever imported it here, and then they get to the customer. I think in that scenario, it's very easy to get information that is not correct. Now, I also know that when I imported the first ones, I got those from an exporter in Bali. And I said, where does it come from? And he said, well, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? He says, well, it comes from a place. He says, it doesn't have a name. It's an island. I don't know what it's called. And he says, it's a rock. I said, okay. And I think early on people thought, well, okay, Bob wants to keep that information to himself so he can monopolize this business. And I don't know. If I knew, I told. If I didn't know, what can you do?
Yeah. So check this. Do you know who Travis Cubes was? TK.
Yeah.
Okay. So this this will kind of bring some more light to this. So Gavin responded to a post from 2014, June 14th, 2014, from this Travis Cubes guy, and it says, "Nice clutch of pure SD Kalatoa localities. Gives the price, whatnot." And then Gavin replies to this currently in February 2023 and says, I hate this. I know it's hard to read, Bob, so I'm just going to read it for you because it's
I can't see it on my phone.
I'll read it. I'll read what he says. But Gavin Bowe says, I hate this shit when I hate this shit went the exact way I figured it was going to go. Nice video and info. Travis was awesome as a keeper and a friend. Outside forces created the person people here or of today, and it's sad that it will taint everything else that was done. My whole favorite part of this story is when he started breeding these, they were sold as Jampeas, the first couple breedings, because that's what he supposedly bought. And they were crazy silver. Only after that and tons of questions and asking the community actually told him to change them to SDs. I believe it was.
Nobody really knew. I mean, nobody, the community didn't know. And Travis got those animals from me, and I didn't know either. And when the first dwarf animals came in, they were Jampeas. And I mean, if I try to, if I'm just guessing, we probably thought these are dwarf, that's what they are.
Right.
But, we find out now that they're different. In fact, we find out not too long after that, all those islands have their own retic on them. So, so we don't know, and I'm sure there's a lot of work to do on the retic.
Yeah, and then the last comment I'll read. You there, Bob? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So last comment that I'll read that Gavin wrote, and I think this is where people are like, flaring up about is he said the entire community voted and told him that they were super dwarfs and not Jampea line, which is what he was originally purchased them as. And they had absolutely no Jampea look or color to them. They were identical to the SDs of that time.
Well, and I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they came from. We just know that we were told eventually Kalatoa.
So I have to ask you, Bob, you being such a pioneer in the mainland reticulated python community, how does it feel with the super dwarf phase and the excitement behind having a super dwarf and a real tiny snake?
I like all retics, and I get into all of it. I always thought it's a little strange. I want the very smallest of the very biggest kind of snake there is. That's a little odd, but I get it. It's a different thing, and I like I like this stuff too. I like the little ones, I like the big ones. I like all of it. Are
you dabbling a lot of putting the little ones to big ones just to get those next level type of morphs that you produce, or are you kind of keeping them separate? How are you working the super morph?
In the beginning, I was trying to make all the morphs into a smaller size. Okay. Now it's become more interesting to make pure locality type animals.
What is your favorite locality that you're liking so far in the super dwarf market? Like what is
I don't really have one. I like the big ones, that's for sure. Bigger is better, and I love a great big snake. And the little ones, they're all interesting to me. I mean, this one comes from there and this pure from another locality. Also interesting. I can't say I favor one over the other. But.
Talking about, you importing that pied male and whatnot. From what I understand, whenever you work with an imported reticulated python, it was a whole different ball game from a captive born bred one. Is that would you say that's accurate?
I did have the original albino retic and the original pied retic, both imported as wild-caught adults, and both of them gave the impression of being older animals. Both of them had difficult acclimations. They did not want to be in captivity, and they didn't adjust to being in captivity very well. And I had that original wild albino. I had to force feed it for 2 years. I could, and I never do that. I always think, you can't get it to eat. Well, you're doing something wrong. You got to tweak this or that, or you got to make the conditions better. Well, I don't know. I couldn't get that one to go. And then finally, the other one, all I could get to eat, the pied, all I could get him to eat for the first few years were quail. And he's a big animal, but he's a special animal.
That's a crazy thing, man. That's one thing I did appreciate when I was getting my hands wet with these imports, because a lot of these snakes behind me were imports, Bob, the green tree pythons and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, I had some heartbreaks, definitely, because that's kind of how it came. You had some of these animals that just didn't want to be here, and they would just crash. Maybe give you a sense of respect, you know what I mean? For like, there's nothing that made me happier than establishing an import. Like, I always thought that was kind of more of a goal of mine than to just breed the next best morph, to a certain extent, you know what I mean?
It's very satisfying getting past that hurdle.
Yeah,
getting them to eat and thrive in captivity. I understand that completely.
It is a gamble when you work with these imports. It's you're rolling the dice every single time. It's scarier to where, some of these, if you don't quarantine properly or if you don't have the right practices, you could destroy a whole collection off bringing in the wrong import into your collection, you would say, right?
That's possible, I guess, but be more likely that you would expose a new animal to something here. I guess it works both ways.
Something that always was a fucking kick in my ass, Bob, was no matter how much I did what I had to do, treating wise, because I kept adding new shit into my room, I kept having to deal with mites, and it was just a pain in the ass. You know what I mean?
They're a problem.
We're talking about 2023, where you almost get crucified now if you send a snake with mites. You have people who have claimed to get animals from you with mites.
Snake mites are very specific in their host. They are only on the snake. That is their only place. So they're not going to get it from the bedding or somewhere. They're going to get it from another snake.
In snakes in the mail from importers or places, and they say, well, hey, they could have got it at FedEx. And I'm like, well, how's that? But I always feel like that could be a possibility. You can't really say nothing, right? Well, you just throw your hands in the air. But how do you know when your chain's being tugged and it's not,
I would say that's not likely.
Things evolving and like I said, the hobby growing and whatnot. How are you delegating and keeping up with customer service and just, obviously making sure people are happy, even though we can't make everyone happy no matter how good you are. But like, how are you dealing with that nowadays?
You can't make everyone happy, but you can do your best.
How did it feel going with this, I don't want to say war, but this head-to-head with Darian of Morph Market?
I've got to say Morph Market is a good platform. It is valuable to me, or has been. It has become very important in our business. I mean, it is the main platform really worldwide to sell a snake. So it's a big deal. It's important. And I like the platform for sure. So
now, are you back on the platform or are you not? Because I don't know where you and Darian stand right now, or excuse me, you and Morph Market. What's going on?
Yeah, I am not. I'm not on. There hasn't really been much communication. I know Darian's got a big job. He's got a lot of responsibility, and he's learning the ropes and trying to make it a good experience for everybody. I get that. I somehow I've got on the wrong side of him, but
yeah, I don't know, like, so what adjustment have you made as far as like, now that you can't sell on Morph Market, are you just solely selling off your own website? Or
I am. And so I was doing quite a bit of business on Facebook, but they don't like that. So mostly what I will do is I'll post something on my Facebook page, also on my website. And I'm trying, I'm making more of an effort now to drive people to my website where, then I'm in control of the platform.
What I didn't really understand with the whole Darian situation was like, if he felt some type of way with you, like he should have just been honest with you, provide you with information that you're being accused of. You got accused of stuff, but there was nothing, no proof.
Yeah, I would have appreciated some communication. If there's a problem, I'm the guy that can fix it. I am not aware that I have broken any morph market rules. If I have not been told what they are.
So you're saying this was very sudden then? Like it was like, whoa, like what just happened type of thing? Like you got no heads up that this was about to happen
Well, I got when I was in Germany last month, I didn't have, I noticed I couldn't find my animals on Morph Market.
Right.
And I thought, well, I might have made a mistake with my last upload or something. I don't know, some kind of a glitch. And I sent a message, which I didn't get an answer, but I did in the next day or two, it came back up. So I thought, oh, well, that's that. Anyway, I have, I'll just go right into this. I don't know really why I was taken off. I do know that after your interview with Kevin at Nerd, and he made some comments about me, and it just infuriated me because I've heard none of this. I don't know what he's talking about, and I called him up, and I think when I'm defending my honor, I guess I can get a little bit over the top, and I did, and I'm not proud of that. As you know, and from your podcast, I really unloaded on him, and I am sorry that I did that. That is not my way. So.
Well, you're also human, Bob. You know, you're human. You're passionate. You know, you're obviously you love your business. Been doing it for years. And I mean, you're coming from one hothead right here. You know, I don't play either. You know, at the end of the day, especially if you play with the food on my table or whatever, or you come at me when I'm just doing my thing. I do have a problem with that. But I just felt like, man, communication could have been a lot better between you two, where you guys could have got somewhere. And that's why I kind of, listen, I went hard on Darian as well on this reaction, because I was like, you know what, because Darian called me, me and Darian had phone conversations. Darian reached out to me like, hey, can I come on your show and like kind of like break the ice with people? Because, I think everyone has a misunderstanding about me. And I'm like, man, I mean, I'm seeing all these memes and you're going after people. So yeah, let's hear why you're doing this. And so at the end of the day, like he broke down that this is the kind of person I am. I'm not serious, but also had some good points. And he had some things where he's like, I really want to take care of, business on this, and that. And he asked me off the live, like, what do you think of Bob Clark? And I'm like, I only know what I've heard of Bob Clark. And, we're talking the most legendary stuff I've heard of Bob Clark. And then I also heard from someone saying that they got a snake for me with no eyes.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And I don't know how true that is, but that's like how big of like, that's what we're talking about here. Now, mind you, I go off my experience, and Bob, we've had short conversations. I met you. I've seen all your animals, talked about you with Brian Barczyk. I don't have a problem with you at all. And that's just my honest feedback. That's all I could give. Right. And I told Darian that. I was like, from what I know, I think Bob is, I like the guy, you know what I mean? But it's easy when you're trying to influence, or excuse me, when you're trying to make everyone happy. And I think Darian was just trying to make everybody happy. Like even when the bigger keepers that he was calling out, when he would talk to the bigger keepers, he would kind of crumble and not have that same energy. So it's like, dude, you got to be authentic here. Like if you really feel a certain way, you need to stand on it. But going this back and forth and let me just be make people happy, it's not going to always work for you. And I just feel like that's kind of what happened to him.
I don't know, but I have had just very minimal contact with him at all. That was the first time I talked to him on the phone. And if there's a problem, I'd like to know about it. And I still don't know about it. And I'd like to be back on Morph Market. And I sent him a message. I sent him a message a couple of days ago that said, look, I'm sorry I went over the top on that deal. Like I said, when I'm defending my reputation, I work hard on my reputation, and it's 40 plus years in the making. And I treat it very seriously. And so I don't know, I could use some direct communication. Like I say, I sent him a text that said I was you know, I was sorry I blew up, but I'd like to get back on your platform. It's a good platform, and I want to be on it. So what's the way forward? Is there a way forward? He sent me a text back that said I had damaged him and Morph Market, both, and he didn't know if there was a way, and I haven't heard from him since. So,
I mean, everything takes time. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know how Darian feels with me, but at the end of the day, I was just keeping it on how I felt, and I just didn't think things were accurate. I didn't think things were on the level of communication where it could have got somewhere. You know what I mean? You know, who knows what he's dealing with? The guy owns Morph Market. He's young. You know what I mean?
yeah, and he's got a big job. I understand.
I wish him the best too. I really do.
I think, you know, if you disagree with him online, he blocks you. So there's no opportunity for back and forth. I'm really pretty as far as an opportunity to create a dialogue. I'm really limited. So, and I imagine if it's the same for others as well. So
Yeah, day by day. When you have something like this Samson Pruitt situation come about, and how does that make you feel as somebody who works on your reputation?
I have some strong feelings on that. You know, one thing, hey, you know, that's a problem, and I think we've dealt with it. Let's move past it, man. I tell you, beating that dead horse over and over and over and over again, making a website about Samson, and it's not productive behavior. We will find I mean, if the national news gets a hold of something like that, and they will if we just keep beating it up, man, some people just cannot get over that. Okay, it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been taken care of. We only hurt ourselves dragging up all those pictures and waving them around. It is bad. It's very bad.
Yeah.
And I think the people that are doing that are short-sighted and self-serving, and they need to stop. That needs to stop right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bob, from like when I first came into the industry, which wasn't too long ago, 2017, I heard about Samson and all this stuff that he was doing. And I was like, well, why is he even around? Whatever. Right. But then it never got to the point of this exposure, like this type of exposure that's gathering. And I'll tell you something, Bob, one thing you might not know about me, but I first started in this with ball pythons and then got into mainlands, and I had up to 12 mainland reticulated pythons. And I felt like I was doing too much. I was like, man, I think I need to slow down. But what made me really slow down was when I went to a bigger breeder's facility here on the West Coast, Prehistoric Pets. You ever heard Prehistoric? Oh, you there?
Yep.
What did you hear me last? What did you hear me say last?
That you hadn't seen this kind of exposure for anything. And you are right, but this is the sort of thing that plays into everybody wants to do the right thing. You know what? I believe that they do want to do the right thing, and they think, okay, if I can speak out against this horrible thing, then I am doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But after that, what are you going to do? You just can't keep waving those pictures around.
Yeah.
It's gonna.
I agree.
It's gonna cause trouble for every one of us if that. Right. But those people that are doing it, it's some kind of selfishness in a way. They just got to move past it.
Well, let me tell you one thing I was going to say before the internet got broken up. I will say that what turned for me before I even had this podcast is, like I said, I had quite a bit of mainlands, nothing near like what you had, but I had about 12 mainlands. Okay. And I was trying to figure out how to take care of these big snakes as far as keeping them from pushing and doing what these big snakes do. And I took a trip over to Prehistoric Pets, and what I was exposed to there did something to me where I was like, I don't think I want to keep these reticulated pythons. If this is where it gets to, if it gets to this point, and I'm not getting into detail because you're right. There's no point of getting into details, but I want to let you know, Bob, that right there gave me PTSD. The shit that I saw, like I saw snakes with missing faces. You know what I mean? That right there made me so angry. It made me so mad that
I don't know about that. But Jay is my good friend for a long time, and
that legit hurt. Like that hurt for me to see that, Bob. You know what I mean?
Well,
as a young keeper who just came into this, and I'm very green, for me to see that. And then mind you, I'm with somebody who's been in the industry for a while. He looked at me like, dude, this is kind of how it is. And I'm like, well, I don't think this is okay. So, and mind you, I didn't go do a video. I just took what I saw, and it fucked with my head for a long time.
I don't know what you saw, but I do.
It's terrible.
Jay is a good guy with a good heart, and he's a hard worker, and he's my friend.
Yeah, but I'm just letting you know how some people might feel like when they, friend or not, I had lunch with the guy that day, but still, like, I don't think any animal should be kept like that ever.
Well,
Ever.
I don't know what it was, but like I say, I like Jay.
Yeah, but I'm just speaking on how the people from the outside looking in or who are just coming into this. Like, I understand that there was an era of keeping reptiles, and it is what it is. But man, things are now changing. Like, if you can't take care of the animal, don't have it. Don't.
Well,
You
I'm
just
with
showed,
you.
you just showed us your facility right now, Bob, and everything looks great. I didn't see anything neglected. You know what I mean? So if you could do it, why can't someone else who's been doing it as long as you do it as well? That's all I'm saying. Like, you got to keep up. You have to maintain and take care.
I'm telling you, you can walk into my place and it'll look just like that or better. I mean, my manager just got back from his honeymoon yesterday.
Nice.
So we're behind, but we're always in good shape. It's always clean, and you can't find a mite out there.
So, I mean, what would be your advice, and Bob, for anyone out there who just is in way and over their head, but they've been doing this for too long?
Well, like I say, I am all about personal responsibility. You gotta get your shit together. You gotta be responsible for your stuff. I expect that of myself and of my customers all. So I can't be your mommy,
Yeah.
but I do expect you to know to be prepared to take care of the animal that you bought. And you got a problem? Call me. I can help.
Give him a call. Go to Bob. Go to Bob if you got a problem.
Yeah, bring me your problem.
Sales are doing better at shows, physical sales versus online sales right now.
I don't do very many shows. I do the NARBC shows in Arlington, Texas. My overseas shows, I haven't done very many since COVID. I haven't done any of my shows in Japan or in the Netherlands or in Germany.
And those were shows you used to do a lot. Like, those were, like, I mean, is that something that was normal for you?
Yeah, for 20 years, I did 4 shows a year in Germany and 4 shows a year in Holland.
Wow.
Sometimes twice in the same month. So,
whoa, that much traveling across the world.
Yeah. I'm a 1.5 million miler with United.
You're super global, man. And I got to ask you, what were sales like in Germany and, like, dealing with that type of market over there?
Unbelievably wonderful in the beginning, and then as you start to sell your animals and people have the animals that you sell, and they start to compete with you, well, that takes a little bit of the excitement out of it for me. And then you're a little bit affected by the exchange rate, and that affects the enthusiasm for buying if the dollar's too strong.
Right.
And, so a lot of factors that I never really thought about when it came to selling snakes.
But I'm assuming when you would go back in Europe, you would go to Germany and these places, like, we're talking, these animals are even more rare over there, right? So they'd probably be more expensive when you would go over there, places like that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the things that I would bring are for sure not available over there in the beginning. They weren't available over here either at some point. So,
right.
But then, things even out over time.
Travel with all the animals, like, was it just like, just cargo in the back of the plane type of thing and just ship them over? Or what would you do?
Yeah, we ship air cargo.
How much have things changed as far as how you would ship a reptile back then compared to, like, FedEx now or something like that? I mean,
it was, it was only like 15 years ago or so that you could start to ship on FedEx and UPS. And before that, it was a trip to the airport for every sale, because you can't send them in the mail. You got to send them on a plane. Wow. And so that's a big, that is the biggest change, I think, over the last years, being able to easily and cheaply and reliably ship by FedEx.
And I have to ask you, man, shipping could be really dangerous for somebody who's never done it before. I mean, I've seen, man, firsthand, so many people just fuck up, you know? So I got to ask you, like, how do you like to use heat packs, not use heat packs? Do you put holes in the boxes? Do you not put holes in the boxes? Like, how's your way or method of shipping for the most part?
Well, I mean, you got to weigh everything. You got to weigh the size of the box, the temperature at this end and at the other end, and in the middle, actually. So
right. Everywhere.
It's hard. You know, I'll send a snake sometimes, and somebody will say, it got here, but so cold, and you know, if it's alive and not too cold, we were successful. That's a success. But you know, I can't, if it's 40 where you are and 75 where I am, I can't put a heat pack in there, you know?
Right.
So, and it may feel colder than it would if you took it out of its cage at your house. But if we've got it there in good condition, we've done the job. That's a success.
What's the most you've ever shipped? I would say, if you can, like, what would say the most snakes you shipped in a year?
No, I don't have that number. I don't know. but I make a lot of snakes, and they all get sold.
So, is there a specific year that stands out that was your biggest year?
I think maybe this year might be my biggest year.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. And if we were going to kind of speed things up for next year, what would you want to take your production next year? Same where it's at now, or even do more next year?
I'm always trying to grow.
It's crazy.
I have to make some decisions on which kinds of things should be bred, which you know, you can make a lot of different things out of the same breeding group of snakes. I've just got to decide, okay, am I going to make some of these or some of those or more of these or less of that? And, but in the end, everything gets sold. So
do you feel like there might be a point where you might have to do more shows?
Maybe. I don't enjoy shows very much.
Stressful, I bet.
You know, it's easier to sit at your desk and make sales than it is to pack everything up and drive it somewhere and then stand there for a couple of days. I do think there's value in getting out in front of your customers and meeting people face to face. That I think has value, and you know, of course, if you can pick up an animal, take it for a test drive, and think, yeah, I want that.
Yeah,
that's good. I'm not sure it's always necessary, but it is good. People like that. It's a good way to sell things.
I would like to see your booth maybe at a Reptile Super Show on the West Coast, maybe one of these days. That'd be cool.
I might do it. I don't know. I've done a couple shows out there. 20 years.
So it's been about 20 years since you've been on the West Coast?
I think I did an NARBC in Anaheim one time.
That's crazy. Before the Super Show was NARBC Anaheim. Those were the very first shows.
That was a long time, yeah. A long drive for me.
Yeah. It's California though, man. It'd be a little vacation for you too, maybe. Especially if sales are good.
It could happen.
Bob, I got a wrap-up question for you before we get into some hot seat questions, okay? National Geographic.
I haven't been in National Geographic. But I think there was some kind of no, I haven't. My only story about National Geographic is that that's where I saw that first picture of the albino Burmese. Jack Hanna, yeah, that was on Letterman.
Oh, so this was Letterman show. Okay, that's great.
That's
How'd you get invited to go on Letterman show?
Well, one day I was driving and I answered my phone and he said, "Bob, this is Jack Hanna." I thought, this doesn't happen very often. He said, "We're the zoo." He was, you know, he's the director of the Columbus Zoo at that time. He said, "The zoo's looking for a big reticulated python. Do you have one?" And I said, "Yeah, I got one." And he said, "Well, can we buy it?" And I said, "Well, I'll loan it to you." So I loaned it to him for a few months, and eventually they bought it. It was a big girl too. I mean, it was bigger than any of them I've showed you today.
Wow. And that call literally just came out of the blue. It was just
yeah. And anyway, and then so you asked me how I got on Letterman. So
right.
So he says what? Let's bring that snake up to Columbus, but let's stop in at the Letterman show on the way. And so we did that, and really Jack's a good guy, and he's helped me a lot, and I think I've been on Letterman 6 times.
Wow.
But
That's so cool, man.
you know, he's got to show new animals all the time, and pretty soon you start running out of animals, and pretty soon I started running out of animals. So,
but what an amazing time to be a part of that, though. It's
yeah, that was fun. So, yeah, go to New York and be on TV. I take my son sometimes and get him on camera, and you know, it's kind of cool when you're in the 6th grade, go back to school and say,
yeah, are you kidding me?
Catch me on Letterman last night.
Coolest kid on the block right there.
Yeah.
I mean, especially television back then. That was like YouTube and everything else. Like you want anything on TV you wanted to be a part of. You know what I mean?
But Jack was very good about that. He'd find a way for little Bob to be on TV. So
is Jack Hanna still alive?
He is. I guess he's come down with dementia.
Oh man,
it's advancing pretty quickly from what I just read in the paper. So,
wow. Well, I hope he's doing well. And yeah, I mean, this has been an awesome podcast, Bob. I gotta say, I learned a lot of stuff that I was looking forward to hearing and whatnot. So I gotta say thank you for this.
Great. I enjoyed sitting here talking about myself. What's better than that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, the growth in this hobby needs to hear stuff like this. They need to hear from Bob. I don't want to say you're a myth, Bob, but you know, you a lot of people who talk about you are just, it's all word of mouth stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to have you sitting here, you know, from the horse's mouth himself, you know, this is very, very inspiring. So thank you for doing this. I do have hot seat questions for you before you leave. Are you okay with that?
Okay, what do you got?
Bob, the quicker the better. That's how these work, okay? Hot seat question for Bob Clark coming in hot. Frozen thought or live?
I like live when I have it, but I've got no problem with frozen thought.
If you had to pick the one or the other, what would it be?
Live.
Egg cut or no cut? Would you ever cut a retic egg, or will you never cut a retic egg?
I will sometimes cut a retic egg, but I know when they want to. They know when they want to hatch. I don't get in there unless I have to.
What day would you feel like I need a cut?
The day that everybody else is sticking their head out.
First pip or more. I like that. How about this? Favorite arboreal snake?
I like green tree pythons.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm a python guy.
Yeah, I love it. Red chondro neo or yellow chondro neo?
Red.
Pre-fur shed meal or post-fur shed meal?
Never in a hurry. Post.
Yay imports or boo imports?
We need them.
Nice.
We need them. I'd always rather have a captive animal, but we still need them.
If you could import one animal into your collection anywhere around the world, no matter what it is, what would it be?
I'd kind of like to have a Komodo dragon. And I don't think it's necessary to import that. I mean, they're here, but wouldn't it be nice to have that?
Bob, yay sports or boo sports?
Sports.
Favorite sport?
Basketball.
Basketball team, NBA or college? Doesn't matter.
I went to KU. I like Jayhawks, but I can tell you I'm not a very good fan till March. You know, I'm just not great.
Steak or fish?
I love fish, but you can't beat a good ribeye.
Yay alcohol or boo alcohol?
Hey, alcohol.
What's your choice beverage?
Good strong IPA.
Oh man, you double IPA or what's your?
I like double IPA.
Oh, check this out. My cousin owns a brewery here in San Diego, and I don't want to toot his horn, but man, this guy makes some amazing IPAs. I think I'm going to send you some if you're cool with that.
Okay, I like a good double IPA. You know, the thing is funny. The thing I was, in school that I didn't like about beer is the thing I love about beer.
Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah, it is so strange, but I've evolved.
Yeah, it's funny how you say that because back in the day, I only drank to be cool. Like I couldn't stand the taste of beer, and now this IPA stuff, it's like a whole game changer. Like
it's just fantastic. I don't know how this has happened to me, but I do like a good IPA.
Does Bob like to listen to music when cleaning snakes, or does Bob not like to listen to music when cleaning snakes?
I'm not really cleaning the snakes. I'm sorry, but I think I'm generally listening to the news.
Okay. Do you have a favorite genre of music?
I like Americana. I like old country music also.
Little word association. Say whatever the first thing to come to your mind. Here we go. Milk.
Toast.
Substrate.
Aspen.
FedEx shipping.
Reliable.
First time reticulated python breeder.
I got nothing there. Congratulations.
Prefer super dwarf or locality specific pythons?
Locality, I don't. To me, they're all interesting equally. If it comes from here or from there, I don't think they're that different in appearance, and I don't think I really care.
Just to sum it up.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, Bob, if you had to get rid of one platform forever, you could never bring it back. Is it Instagram or Facebook? Which one needs to go?
I say Facebook.
Let's go.
I think, I'd like to sell animals on Facebook, but they'll boot you off. Be damned if they'll tell you why.
And I gotta say, the most miserable people are on Facebook, from what I can see. Like, as far as the ones who are making the biggest fuss and complaining and just speaking out of like where they shouldn't even be talking.
I did really. I used to run an auction on there every day.
Wow.
For 11 years. And then one day, no more auctions. And not only that, we're taking your page down. I thought, what? Wait a minute.
Wow.
So, I had 140,000 followers, and now I got 11. I had to start over again.
Man, well, it just kind of shows you how powerful the social media and these platforms are, man. It's not guaranteed.
It isn't just the platform, it's the mob. You get the mob on you, it's crazy.
Cancel culture. At the end of the day, Bob, you got to want to be canceled to get canceled, and Bob Clark is not going anywhere.
I'm uncancelable.
I love it. Bob, again, this podcast was very inspiring. For anyone listening tonight, it's just a huge fan of your work and just really wants to just see you progress to wherever you want to go. What do you have to say to all your love and support out there, Bob?
I am grateful for support. It's difficult from time to time when the mob's on you, but I can tell you that those people that email me or text me or whatever and say, "Hey man, I'm right there with you," that is very much appreciated. I really appreciate hearing that from people.
And like I said, man, once I saw some people coming to my comments and speaking on you, I was like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you got to ride with who rides with you. And you definitely have a lot of supporters out there, Bob. So I again, just thank you for this episode. And hopefully maybe one day I could get you back on the show for a round 2, but that's a wrap for Bob Clark Reptiles. Ladies and gentlemen, I will say, for anyone out there who is looking to purchase a Bob Clark snake, bobclarkreptiles.com and is the best place, or where can people?
Bobclark.com.
Bobclark.com?
Yep.
Okay. I'll put that in the description below, but
very
Bob,
good. Thank you. Enjoy
Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm rooting for you. And thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you. I had a good time.
Have a good one. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. What an amazing episode. Bob Clark. I mean, say what you want. The guy's a legend, You may not everyone be a fan of the guy, but he has people that he's inspired. You can't take that away from him. Same with Kevin, same with Jay, same with all these people. Like, they've all inspired people that will always ride for him. And but what at the end of the day, we have to make our own judgment. We have to decide on ourselves who we should ride for and who we shouldn't, right? So that's our responsibility. I will say the best thing I heard on this episode was, like, it's our responsibility. You purchase something, that's your responsibility. I think a lot of people out there need to start owning the responsibility that they're getting themselves into when owning anything. But yes, thank you so much. Appreciate all the love and support. If this was your first time catching a Trap Talk Reptile podcast, do me a favor, hit the like button, but more importantly, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here. Every single piece of content will be right here on this channel for you not to miss. You could also hit that QR code right there. If you're watching this on the TV or whatever, get your phone and go ahead and hit that QR code. Follow me on all social media platforms, Instagram, Trap Talk God 619. Also follow the podcast's Instagram page as well, Trap Talk Reptile Podcast on IG. Shout out to Facebook if you're on Facebook. Follow and like my page on Facebook, Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. If you're looking for exclusive content, for instance, if you want to catch this unedited version, okay, the raw Bob Clark episode, that's going to be available only for my Patreon members, okay? Also, they'll be the first ones to watch this episode before it gets released next week. So if you want to be able to watch all unreleased content, exclusive content, unedited content, the real deal Holyfield content, then do me a favor, go down to the very first link in the description below, click on it, and join the Trap Talk Reptile Podcast Patreon family and come fuck with me and the trappers, man. Over 170 people in the Discord. So as soon as you join the Patreon family, you will get a link to the Discord, and that will tap you in with over 170 trappers. Again, thank you for all my love and support. It really means a lot to me, man. Like, even if you're not a Patreon member, just you watching this means a lot to me. So thank you to all my viewers, my subscribers, all my haters, more importantly, because you guys make me famous. So keep that up. And again, don't forget to support US ARC, fight for your rights. Thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who supports US ARC. You guys are the truth. And I will say again that tonight's episode is brought to you by Ship Your Reptiles, #1 shipping company in the game. That's a fact. The real OG of the reptile shipping companies. You don't want to go anywhere else. This is what the pros use. So use what the pros use. Pro customer service, just all around top shelf type activity coming from Ship Your Reptiles. Also, this episode is brought to you by my big dog, Gary Shavino, GS Reptiles. Head over to YouTube right now. Type in GS Reptiles. Subscribe. Be ready for some of the best content in the reptile industry as far as it being knowledgeable, super knowledgeable. This man works with so many different lines of different species of pythons. He has emerald tree boas. Dude's really tapped in, man. My boy Gary Shavino. So if you want to geek out over some of the rarer stuff that is in this industry and learn more, this is your guy right here. Don't sleep on my boy Gary Shavino, GS Reptiles. Thank you for your love and support, Gary. And yeah, you guys are awesome. I appreciate every single one of you, like I said. And I'll catch you guys here on the next Trap Talk Reptile podcast. So thank you for all the love and support. You guys are awesome. See you guys at the top, and I'm out. Cheers.